While retail investors are chasing meme coins and the same old narratives, something unusual is happening with Zebec network that almost nobody is talking about. Institutional wallets connected to traditional finance are accumulating ZBCN. Lightning Speed Ventures, a firm with direct ties to Federal Reserve officials, just bought $4 million worth. Uphold, the exchange backed by major banking institutions, is running NBA and NHL commercials promoting ZBCN to their 10 million users. This isn't normal crypto behavior, this is strategic institutional positioning, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why banks are quietly loading up on Zebec before the masses catch on. Let's dive deep. First, let's look at the evidence that institutions are accumulating ZBCN. Because this isn't speculation, these are documented facts. Lightning Speed Ventures made a $4 million ZBCN purchase. Now, who is Lightning Speed Ventures? They're not just another crypto VC. Their leadership includes former Federal Reserve officials and traditional finance executives. These are people who understand banking infrastructure at the highest levels. When someone with Federal Reserve connections buys $4 million of a DePIN token, that's not a gamble. That's strategic positioning based on insider knowledge of where financial infrastructure is heading. Then there's Uphold. They're not some small exchange. They have 10 million users and backing from major financial institutions. They ran commercials during NBA and NHL games promoting ZBCN rewards for XRP holders. Think about the cost of advertising during major sports broadcasts. That's six-figure marketing spend minimum. Why would Uphold spend that kind of money promoting a token unless they believed in massive upside? They're not doing charity work. They're positioning their user base to accumulate before broader awareness hits. And here's what most people miss. Uphold's institutional backers include traditional finance players. When Uphold promotes ZBCN this aggressively, it signals that their institutional partners see value. So why are institutions accumulating ZBCN specifically? What do they see that retail doesn't? It comes down to one thing: infrastructure obsolescence. The current banking system runs on technology built in the 1970s. ACH transfers take 3 to 5 days. International wires cost $30–50 and take even longer. Banks are hemorrhaging money maintaining this outdated infrastructure while fintech companies eat their lunch. Banks know they need to upgrade, but they can't just shut down and rebuild. They need bridge technology that connects legacy systems to modern blockchain rails. That's exactly what Zebec provides. Zebec has already integrated with JP Morgan, Visa, and Mastercard infrastructure. They're not trying to replace banks. They're offering banks the technology to modernize without disrupting existing operations. Here's the key insight. Banks don't want to build this themselves. Building blockchain infrastructure from scratch would take years and cost billions. It's cheaper and faster to integrate with existing protocols like Zebec. And Zebec's streaming payment technology solves real problems for banks. Instant settlement reduces counterparty risk. Real-time payments improve cash flow management. Cross-chain compatibility through Axelar means banks can work with any blockchain their clients prefer. The Ripple partnership is the smoking gun here. Ripple has been working with banks for years on cross-border payments. Now Zebec is integrating RLUSD on the XRP ledger. That's not a coincidence. That's Ripple bringing Zebec into their institutional network. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room that connects everything: ISO 2022 compliance. If you don't know what ISO 2022 is, pay attention. This is crucial. It's the new global standard for financial messaging that banks worldwide are adopting. By 2025, major financial institutions must be ISO 2022 compliant. This is a massive infrastructure upgrade affecting trillions of dollars in daily transactions. Banks are spending billions to comply. And here's where it gets interesting for Zebec. Zebec is positioning itself as ISO 2022 compatible. That means when banks upgrade their systems, Zebec's streaming payment infrastructure can plug directly into the new standard. Think about the timing. Banks need to upgrade by 2025. Zebec is operational right now with ISO 2022 compatibility. Institutions with inside knowledge of these banking timelines would want to accumulate ZBCN before the broader market realizes what's coming. That's why Lightning Speed Ventures, with their Federal Reserve connections, is buying now. They understand the regulatory timeline. They know banks will need compliant infrastructure solutions, and they're positioning before the demand surge hits. The World Mobile Partnership adds another layer. ZebecNet is deploying physical infrastructure in underbanked regions. This isn't just about crypto adoption, this is about bringing ISO 2022 compliant payment rails to areas where traditional banking infrastructure doesn't exist. Banks see this as expansion opportunity. Instead of building physical branches in Africa, they can partner with Zebec's existing infrastructure. So what's the institutional playbook here? Why accumulate quietly instead of announcing positions? Simple. Institutions want to accumulate at lower prices before retail catches on. Look at the pattern. Lightning Speed Ventures buys $4 million. That's not a one-time purchase. That's initial positioning. Uphold runs major marketing campaigns to their 10 million users. That's building awareness while accumulating. The Ripple partnership announcement was strategic timing. It validates Zebec's technology to institutions while giving retail a reason to pay attention. But notice the price action. There was a spike, then consolidation. That consolidation phase is when smart money accumulates. Here's what institutions know that retail doesn't. ZBCN has buyback tokenomics. As transaction volume grows, ZBCN gets bought back from the market. More institutional adoption equals more transactions equals more buying pressure. Institutions are positioning before the transaction volume explodes. They're accumulating the infrastructure token that will benefit from every payment processed through Zebec's network. And with the DPIN narrative exploding in 2025, institutional capital is rotating into infrastructure plays with real utility. Zebec checks every box: operational product, institutional partnerships, regulatory compliance, and massive total addressable market. Look, I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but when institutions with Federal Reserve connections are buying millions, when major exchanges are running sports commercials, and when the regulatory timeline aligns perfectly with a project's technology, you pay attention. Banks are accumulating ZBCN for a reason. Whether retail realizes it now or later, the institutional positioning is already happening. If this connected the dots for you, smash that like button. Subscribe for daily Zebec institutional analysis. Drop a comment. Do you think banks are front-running retail on ZBCN? Let's discuss. See you in the next one. Stay ahead of the curve.